The amendment is not agreed to. Any further amendments? Ms. Leger Fernandez.
Madam Chair, I have an amendment to the rule. I move the committee to make an order amendment number 52 offered by myself. The wealthiest and most powerful Americans are contemplating a tax scam that does not help families afford groceries, buy a home, or make sure their children have a better life than they did. No, they're contemplating a tax scam that will continue to enrich themselves. I request unanimous consent to submit the January 10th, 2025 report from the Department of Treasury entitled "The Cost and Distribution of Extending Expiring Provisions of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Acts of 2017" into the record.
Without objection.
This report found that extending the Trump tax scam would give an extra $32,000 a year to those in the top 100%, or those earning about $750,000 a year. That windfall is more than half of my state's median household income, more than half. Extending the tax scam would provide an additional $314,000 a year handout to those in the top 0.1% every single year. The vast majority of working Americans would receive less than a few dozen dollars a month. If Donald Trump and Elon Musk really want to give massive handouts to themselves, millionaires and billionaires, if they truly believe that would help hardworking families afford groceries or buy a home, let's exempt those billionaires and millionaires who work for the federal government as political appointees from the tax benefits of this legislation. If your net worth is almost $400 billion like Elon Musk, you certainly don't need that extra money, do you? My amendment will prevent President Trump, Elon Musk, and indeed members of Congress who earn more than the top 1% of Americans from benefiting from these tax cuts or the companies they control. Roughly 75% of Americans want us to ban members of Congress from trading individual stocks. This idea that we should not be taking action that benefits the wealthiest among us is very popular. So I urge my colleagues to vote for my amendment, and I yield back.
Is there further discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, the questions on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to.
Recorded vote, Madam Chair.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Fishbach. No. Mrs. Fishbach, no. Mr. Norman. No. Mr. Norman, no. Mr. Roy. No. Mr. Roy, no. Mrs. Houchin. No. Mrs. Houchin, no. Mr. Langworthy. No. Mr. Langworthy, no. Mr. Scott. No. Mr. Scott, no. Mr. Griffith. No. Mr. Griffith, no. Mr. Jack.
No.
Mr. Jack, no. Mr. McGovern.
Yes.
Mr. McGovern, aye. Ms. Scanlon. Mr. Neguse.
Aye.
Mr. Neguse, aye. Ms. Leger Fernandez.
Aye.
Ms. Leger Fernandez, aye. Madam Chair.
No.
Madam Chair, no.
No. The clerk will report the total.
3 yeas, 9 nays.
The noes have it. The amendment is not agreed to. Are there